Hello everybody and welcome to another Destiny build video. Today we have an insane one for the Titan class, so without further ado, let's get into it. So this build is absolutely insane. It's going to allow you Titans to withhold an infinite amount of Void Overshield and also technically Devour. It's also going to allow you to basically withstand every single ounce of damage coming from a 180-degree angle to the front. As you can see in the clips provided right now, I am being bombarded. I'm in a legendary campaign mission for the final shape, minus 15 power, and I'm taking basically 0 damage. It is insane. So let me show you how to make it here. We're going to start with our exotic Armamentarium. This is going to give us an additional grenade charge, which is going to be so crucial to this build. Grenade final blows will spawn an orb of power that will count for our Unbreakable. So starting over here with the armor mods on the helmet, you're going to want to go ahead and put on a siphon. Whatever siphon is matching the element of your main weapons. You should probably be using void weapons with this. You'll know a little bit more later on when we get to the subclass. But if you're not, just go ahead and put on whatever siphon matches the main weapons you're using. After that, you can go ahead and put on something like Ashes to Assets, since we will be getting a bunch of kills with our Unbreakable, which from my test seems to count as grenade kills. You can also go ahead and put on something like Heavy Ammo Finder, Special Ammo Finder, and something like that. Now for your arms, you're going to want to have on 3 heavy-handeds. This is going to allow your shield to create basically about an infinite amount of orbs when you use them, including your melees. Now, if you don't want to have these on, you can take off about 1 or 2. I wouldn't recommend taking off all 3, but if you want to swap out one of them for, say, something like Firepower, just to get a little less cooldown on your Firepower, like cooldown, get rid of it a little bit, down to 4 seconds, 5 seconds. And if you want to swap one more to something like Bolstering Detonation, just get some class ability energy when you cause damage with your Unbreakable, you can do that as well. Personally, I like 3 heavy-handeds, but as long as you have 1 on, that is fine. But personally, I recommend 3 like this. Now for your chest piece, of course, the easiest one of them all. Go ahead and put on the resistance mods that are going to match the activity you're doing. If enemies are using, say, strand stasis a lot, then put on a strand and a stasis one, etc. You get the point. Put on the ones that help you resist the most damage that is going to be in the activity that you're doing. Now for your boots, I realized I didn't even have mods on when I did all of my footage. So you can go ahead and put on, say, an Innervation and an Invigoration. You're going to want to put on orb mods because we will be generating an insane amount of orbs. So go ahead and put on these. I wouldn't recommend that you need something like Better Already or Recuperation, because we're going to get a ton of healing via Devour and just orb pickups on general. If you want to put 1 on, okay, that's fine, but I wouldn't recommend more than that. Like I said, I would recommend just putting things like Invigoration, Innervation, Insulation, or Absolution. Go ahead and put those ones on. That's probably the ones you're going to want the most, is, say, obviously the ones that give you ability cooldown. Obviously, you might get a little more grenade energy with your mod. You probably don't need it just because we're always going to be getting it refunded. But I would still recommend putting on 1 Innervation and 1 Invigoration. For your class, I also realized I had the wrong mods on as well. We're not really using our class ability that much, so you're not going to want Powerful Attraction. Now, Reaper is just good because you get a bonus orb. I know I said we're not going to use our class ability too much, but everything's based on your class ability on your class item, so might as well put a Reaper on. After that, you're probably going to want to put an Outreach on and a Bomber. This is obviously going to be good to get some energy back if you do end up using it. You can also swap one out for Proximity Ward if you want. This way you get a nice powerful overshield while you're doing a finisher, so you don't die if you're doing one of those. It's always nice to have that on, honestly. One of my favorites. Other than that, starting over here with the weapons, you can use literally any weapons you want. I prefer void weapons. You'll see why yet again in a second. A little bit when we get to the subclass. But my also big choice would be Vexcalibur. Vexcalibur is going to make it so that when you block damage with your shield, specifically the shield from your glaive, it's going to bestow Void Overshield to you and nearby allies. If you deal additional melee damage, or I should say if you get additional melee final blows while the Overshield is active, or any Overshield it should be, it will refresh that Overshield. So this is always a great way. You also deal increased melee damage when you have Overshield, so it is a pretty sweet weapon to pair with our build. So let me show you the subclass side of things. You're going to want to start over here with Sentinel Shield. There is a little benefit you're going to get with Sentinel Shield that you do not get with any other super. So Unbreakable has this hidden little thing that when Sentinel Shield is on, blocking damage will literally just generate an orb. Like literally an orb will just spawn because you're holding Unbreakable and taking a hit. Twilight Arsenal and Ward of Dawn do not do this. You can put them on if you want. I wouldn't recommend it just because you lose your orb generation. And honestly, Sentinel Shield is just more fun. Obviously, unless it was something like you're in a raid and you have to have Ward of Dawn on, then okay. But otherwise, I would leave on Sentinel Shield. For your barricades, it literally doesn't matter. You can go ahead and put on any you want. We're not really using them that much anyway. Obviously, the same for the jump. Go ahead and put on whatever you would like. For your melee, you're going to want Shield Throw. Shield Throw is going to give us an overshield on each target that is hit. Shield Bash will only give us it on final blows. And obviously, it's a little harder when you have tankier enemies to actually get final blows with Shield Bash. So if you're going into high-end content, you're going to want to just leave on Shield Throw. I just prefer Shield Throw in general over the Shoulder Charge anyway. For your grenade, technically it does not matter since Unbreakable is supposed to kind of set a base cooldown on its own no matter your grenade choice. I like to just put on Scatter because I believe that is the least cooldown. So even though it might not matter, I just like having it that way. So I recommend just putting on Scatter. Obviously, Unbreakable is our first and main aspect. This is going to allow us to consume our grenade charges to summon a Void Shield, blocking 95% of all damage. This is also going to grant us overshield continuously and rapidly. And while you have your shield up, you can release the grenade input to unleash a frontal assault, like literally just a blast that deals an insane amount of damage. You'll also get grenade energy refunded. So this is pretty good, and this is how we're going to keep up our grenades like crazy. After this, you're going to want Offensive Bulwark. This is going to make us that when you have an overshield, your grenade will charge 600% faster. This is how we're going to make sure that we continuously keep getting charges like insane amounts. You will also have increased melee range and damage, and any melee final blow will restore small portions of your overshield. Now, obviously, Controlled Demolition is also a okay choice. Bastion is also an alright choice. Probably my least one I would go with Bastion. So if you want to put on Controlled Demolition, you can put that one on, but I wouldn't recommend it in harder activities. But Offensive Bulwark is pretty good, and the melee that refunds your overshield should obviously count with Vexcalibur, making Vexcalibur even a little more better. So that's also a good reason to use Vexcalibur with this. Now, starting over here with the fragments, in the original footage, I realized I had the wrong one on. We had Domineering on, but we're obviously not suspending any enemies. So this is a flex slot. You can put on one of these other choices, starting with Instability. That is also a good choice because you're going to get volatile rounds with your weapons. Echo of Undermining is also pretty good. That way you can weaken enemies with your Unbreakable. Obscurity is pretty good too. If you get a lot of finisher final blows, you can go invisible and reposition yourself. Expulsion is also a really good choice because your ability final blows will cause explosions. That's always a little nice. And Vigilance is our final go-to here because this is really good. You're going to get overshield. But other than that, those would be the ones I would recommend. So in our flex spot, like I said, I'd say Vigilance, Undermining, Expulsion, or Instability, or Obscurity. Those would be the ones that I would recommend. If you want my go-to, the one I would absolutely say to go with, for me personally, I would have to say Instability. You're going to get kills, obviously, with your Unbreakable, and in harder activities, it's just nice to have volatile rounds. This is why I was saying you should probably have on a Void Weapon, is because if you're using Instability, obviously, you're only going to get volatile rounds with Void Weapons. After that, Echo of Leeching is really good because Offensive Bulwark, like I said, is going to give you more overshield on a melee kill when you have an overshield active. And why not start your health regen so that you also get a chunk of health back with every melee kill, obviously with a little chunk of overshield as well. After this one, it's obviously going to be a pretty obvious one, Echo of Persistence. This is going to make void buffs last longer, overshield and devour, and if you use Obscurity, the fragment, then you also will have invisibility's duration increased, so that is obviously a good one to go with. Echo of Starvation is going to make so that when we pick up a Void Breach or Orb of Power, we're obviously going to be getting a sweet, sweet buff called Devour. Devour obviously gives us health and grenade energy and extends itself on every kill. Unbreakable is going to obviously spawn so many orbs. So obviously this is how we're going to maintain this. Now here is the artifact mods as well. Obviously you do not need artifact mods for this build. So in the future, if these are not options you can go with, don't worry. It is perfectly fine. It is just as good as you're seeing right now. So Refresh Threads, Elemental Coalescence, Shield Crush, and Elemental Overdrive are going to be the 4 main ones that will make this build a little bit better. Obviously, things like picking up an elemental pickup will grant energy to our least charged ability. Defeating targets has a chance to create the elemental pickups matching our equipped super. While you have Void Overshield, your melee recharges faster and deals more damage. And picking up an elemental pickup will grant increased damage to weapons of the same element. Obviously, pairing well with our Void weapons. So that is why those 4 are pretty good. Yet again, the build works just as fine, even if you don't have those, so don't worry in the future. So here is the gameplay right here of this build. As you can see, when you use Unbreakable, you have a bar on the left side where your buffs are. You're going to want to take damage. Yes, you heard me right. Take damage until that bar reaches all 5 chunks and is completely filled. Then you're going to want to release the blast, hurting enemies, and possibly killing them. As you can see in the bottom left too, I am consistently getting Unbreakables, and you can also just see that I keep pulling them out like crazy. I can also just sit here, take all the damage, charge up Unbreakable, and then unleash on my enemies. A little tip too is that as you can see in the bottom left, when I take damage, it is refunding my duration right at the bottom left in my grenade slot of how long I can hold this for. You're going to want to explode and let go of your grenade input the higher it is. So that would be my little pro tip for that. The higher your energy is or the longer you have still in your duration is when you're going to want to go ahead and let go of your blast. And obviously when you're at tier 5 Unbreakable on the buff side of your screen. But as you can see here in more gameplay, still legendary campaign, minus 15 power. It's absolutely insane. Like, yes, obviously you take damage, of course, it's Destiny, but the amount of healing you get from Overshield, the amount of damage you deal, and of course, the damage reduction, 70% from Void Overshield, mixed with 90% of just, or 95% I should say, of all damage just being blocked completely by your shield, is absolutely insane. As you can see, I am literally just using Unbreakable as my weapon. I was even able to beat a minus 30 power, like exactly 30 power solo op with this build. So it is really, really strong. Now I realize I forgot to mention what your stats should be. So I'm going to say right here, you're going to want to have as high of a grenade stat as possible, up to 200. Because grenade does appear to affect the damage of your Unbreakable blast, so that's obviously a good one to go with. After that, you'll probably want melee and honestly health, because health obviously at over 100 is going to give you more health, like more shields I should say, and faster regen, which is always nice. And then obviously melee, because obviously having more Sentinel Shield throws is pretty nice. Well, shield throws, not Sentinel Shield throws. After that, you'll probably just want to have a decent amount of class and super and probably weapons as well. I would say those 3 would just kind of be around like the 20 to 30 mark if you can get them there. Maybe a little higher, 50. I mean, if you can get somehow them up to 70, or at least 1 or 2 of them to 70, that would also probably be a pretty good way to go. But other than that, that is about it for this build. So let me know what you think about this build in the comments below. And while you're down there, if you like this video, then why not hit the like button, subscribe, comment, share, all that good jazz. Because why not join the family and stick around? With all of that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'll see you around the tower.